Hey, guys, it's Blade here and today we'll be reading a Harry Potter fanfic. It's called A Web of Love and Lust. Tom Riddle finds himself falling for his new Dada professor, Professor Hayden Belmont, who is a mysterious, beautiful, strong young man. A start of a new obsession. Tom Riddle believes that Professor Hayden Belmont is his and his alone. Hayden Belmont? As the ancient and noble house of Belmont, the one who fought off most of the dark creatures and is one of the founding families of magic. Also to believe that the four founders of Hogwarts came from this family? Headmaster Dippet asked. Harry nodded his head. Yes sir, the very same one. And you taught defense before? Harry nodded again. Aren't you too young for that? I'm 21 years old, but I started teaching defense when I was 15. Harry said as he looked at the Headmaster Dippet. I don't seem to see a problem with this. Are you able to start right away, Headmaster Dippet? Perfect then. Shall we? The wizard stood with a smile. Harry nodded and stood. Headmaster Dippet took him to the defense classroom. As they entered the Dada's office, 7 parchments appeared on the desk. That's the course's guidelines that the ministry has put for defense against the dark arts, 1 parchment for each year. Is there anything you would need? Harry shook his head as Headmaster Dippet left. Harry sat on the chair and sighed, looking outside through the window. What have I gotten into? Harry thought as began to read guidelines left by the ministry before he has to go meet his new students in Great Hall for dinner. Tom. I would like to welcome our new addition to our Hogwarts family. I would like all of you to give a big round of applause for Professor Hayden Belmont. He will be taking the role as your new defense against the dark arts professor. Headmaster Dippet said with a smile on his face. The first thought that brushed Tom's mind was how very lovely. And indeed, Tom was enchanted by how enthralling he found his new Dada professor to be, and he was momentarily grateful for no one's attention was on him for once as he greedily familiarized himself with each and every nuance of the lithe body of Professor Belmont. As a man physically in his late 20s and stands roughly 6 feet tall stood from his seat and gave a slight bow of his head as he surveyed the students in the Great Hall. His pale features that even the cold heart of an Inferius would ache in sympathy. But what caught the attention of the Slytherin prefect were Professor Belmont's eyes. They were a lovely yet frightening shade of green. The same green as the killing curse, Tom thought as he looked at his new Dada professor. Professor Belmont had long dark tresses floated down his back, unbound and untamed, that would shine in the moonlight. He was wearing a red bandana with his fringe emerging over it. But Professor Belmont's most distinctive feature is his emerald green cloak, held in place over his shoulders and lower face by several buckles. Underneath his cape, Professor Belmont's attire is black leather with several straps and buckles. Professor Belmont seems to be wearing knives and gun holster that seems to be strapped to his right thigh, and he was wearing basilisk leather hide boots. He wears a golden gauntlet on his left arm. Professor Belmont's features were pale, chiseled as if by an attentive hand of a sculptor, in sharp contrast with such dark hair and the type of clothing he was wearing, but no less engaging. It was a beautifully sorrowful sight, surely a dream of every soulful painter. Greed found a home in those dark eyes of the Slytherin prefect, wanting to do enchanting its prey and capturing it in a chokehold as it would forever covet for the one. He read many books about beauty personified in his free time, and many who were capable of alluring the strongest willed person even to their death. Tom knew that he would never have fallen prey to such siren's call or Viola's allure, secure in his mental fortitude. He could say for sure that Professor Belmont was no creature, for to be able to work their thrall they needed an eye contact or a direct notice at the very least. No, there was nothing of mental manipulative magic that could capture him. Even so, Professor Belmont was so incredibly beautiful. Despite the fact that Tom could feel very clearly that Professor Belmont is indeed a wizard, and yet he was reluctant to call Professor Belmont one. Instead, Tom wondered if Professor Belmont was not an unknown creature of exceptional beauty and in front of all of them, or was he the only one of such kind, or maybe even last of their kind? Surely he would have somehow heard something of such enchanting creatures otherwise? And yet it was so clearly that Professor Belmont was a wizard, what with his magic crackling in the surrounding air curling about their host, unrestrained. Once the announcement that was done, everyone began to eat their dinner, a few students taking a few glances at the new defense against the dark arts professor. Tom knew that this year is going to be interesting.